Hi, this is Rosemary and Sherry, and we're here to introduce our special guest, CHERILYN ORR. She's streaming in from Athens, Greece. It's evening there for her, and she had a very crazy day. So CHERILYN and her husband, Mark, are parents of 7, 3 biological children, 4 who have been adopted. And I really admire her for being able to do this, something like this. And and they've taken them all over the world. They've lived in Africa, in England, back in Canada, and now they're in Athens, Greece. And she has some very powerful tools to share with us. And since I took her course, it's been really helpful for me to learn these tools and to be more aware of where, like even when I wake up in the morning, where am I at? Am I feeling stressed? And helping myself come down to a calm, and starting in a calm state instead of feeling frenzied from the time I get out of bed. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to CHERILYN.
Thank you very much, Rosemary. I'm very, very thankful to be a part of this homeschooling summit. And I just admire all these moms who all across the world in the last year have been forced to school at home, have their children at home, and have entered that homeschooling life, some by choice and some not by choice, some by default. And as we go into this next year, again, many of us will end up in that world of homeschooling. And I'm a professor, I'm an educator, I've worked as a special needs teacher. I've done so much different kinds of work all around the world. And I have to say that one of the most challenging jobs I've ever had to do, the hardest thing I ever do, is be a mom. Being a mom is hard work, and it doesn't matter what degrees you have, how much studying you've done. Being a mom takes every part of you because you are so invested in your children. And as a homeschooling mom, you're investing all day long into the lives of these children. So it's huge. So I just want to commend you, each and every mom who may be listening here, that when you have great days, give yourself a pat on the back. And when you have hard days, still give yourself a pat on the back and find something small to celebrate. And today, I want to share that I'm not a perfect mom and I don't have a perfect family, but we are on a journey. And I am so thankful for the education that I've had over the last probably 15 years that did not come from my university studies when I was first starting off 30 some odd years ago as a teacher and in early childhood education. They didn't teach us about brain science. They taught us about behavior modification and all these other things. But when I adopted my I had 3 biological children. And then when I started the world of adoption, I just realized that life is very, very, very different. And some of the traditional methods that I used didn't work at all. And I had a friend, and I was at her house, and I had this 4-year-old that was out of control, just throwing herself on the ground, screaming out of control. And when I just watched her get on her hands and knees, and she was able to regroup my child. And what would have taken me 45 minutes to do, and that's as an early childhood educator, that's with a master's degree, that's with years of experience working with traumatized children, but she did something different. And I thought, what is this? And so we talked, and she started to share with me, and she helped me to enter the world of brain science. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be doing a little bit today, is bring you on my journey from being in the whole growing process, and how do I grow my own personal emotional health, and how do I grow that in my family? So yeah, and as we go through, we're going to be, I just want to share with you, like, we all have those days, those crazy days. And I have them. I have special needs children as well. And I've had foster children. And when you have a tribe, some days are just crazy. And you know, when one of those days I want to share with you about is the whole day of there's my crazy tribe up there. I want to share with you about one of my crazy days when I roll out of bed and it's 20 to 9 and my kids are part of a homeschooling, online schooling co-op. And they have science online. And especially during COVID, we couldn't meet together. And all of a sudden I roll out of bed and I look at the clock and I go, oh, it's 20 minutes until it starts. And the entire household is sound asleep. So I jump out of bed and I run to the oldest kid. And I say at that point, she's the oldest child at home at that point. And this was just actually a couple of months ago. And I say, you have to get out of bed. You got to hurry. We're going to be on Zoom and the Zoom life. And I said, and we are in charge of hosting it. And so I said, you got to get on. And then I run to the next kid and I say, you got to get out of bed right now. And then I run to the next kid, you got to get out of bed and get on Zoom, get your books, get your stuff. And one kid can't find books and one kid can't. And then I'm holding a 2-year-old in my arms, a 1-year-old in my arms that's screaming. And I've got I look over my shoulders and there's a 3-year-old that's helped herself to cereal, and that just did not go very well because there's milk all over the floor as well as cereal all over the floor. And I rush back into the oldest child and she's hardly moving, like she's on slow motion. And I'm like, you gotta hurry, you gotta hurry. And it seemed like the more I was trying to get people to hurry, the slower they went. And the next kid, all he could think about was, I need breakfast, I need breakfast. And I'm like, it's okay, we'll have breakfast afterwards. Just sit down. And then I went to the next child and she's wrapped up in a blanket. And there is no way you're getting out. I hate science. I'm not getting up. I don't even know. I hate science. I hate it. And I'm like, come on, you gotta hurry. You gotta get there. And finally, as it hit 9 o'clock, I suddenly had all 3 of them sitting at their computers. And then I was able to mop this off and calm the baby. And I thought, oh, I know why this happened. Of course, we all know, every mom knows, I should have got up early. I shouldn't have stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning working on that project I'm working on. We all have these moments where we look and we can go, I know, I should have done this. I should have had this ready. I should have made sure they had the science book so we weren't hunting for the science book. I should have made everything happen. So I don't know if you can relate to those days, but those days just happen. You know, they're just, they just happen, right? And and that's part of life. We're not perfect moms. And we can always do better next time. We know that. But what I want to take us through today is the why. What's going on in our kids' brain when they start going slower? What's going on in my brain as I'm getting more agitated because things aren't going the way I want them to go? So I want you just to kind of go with me and we're going to go on this journey together. And I want to share a little bit about the stoplight approach. It's simple. You could be used by the smallest member of your family. I know my little 3-year-old running around right now, you know, you say, well, what color is that? And she'll stamp her foot and go, red. And I'm going, well, the marker's red, but yes. But she understands that red has a meaning. And what I'm sharing with you today is it's not about a program. It's not something you tick off your ticky box and say, I did this. But the stoplight approach is a way of seeing yourself, and it's a way of looking at others. And I kind of use this example of, I don't see very well without glasses. I can hardly see at all. But when I put on my glasses, I see the world differently. And that's what Stoplight Approach does. It helps us to see the world differently. And so when I see that child who is screaming on the ground and having a temper tantrum, I go, oh, that child is in red. That child, I see another child who's just complaining about this or that. I say, oh, my child's in yellow. Or if I see a child that's anxious and ready to learn, or just peaceful and content, I go, oh, that child's in green. And so I just want us to understand that what I'm sharing with you today, it's a belief. It's a philosophy. It's how I look at the world around me. And when I use the word stoplight approach, it's another word for saying looking at life through the eyes of brain science. So the first part and this grows your emotional health and well-being. So the first part, I just really want to share with you as you look at it, and we use the colors of red, yellow, green to understand emotions. We're going to look at the 3 different parts of the brain. So as I look at that, and as I can reflect, as I sat on that floor, as I mopped up the milk, I realized, okay, I know that Darren right now, my little boy, he's in yellow. He has an unmet need. He has an unsolved problem, and he has a lacking skill. And I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, okay, if I want to get all my children to green right now, I need to go and put together some sandwiches. And so a couple of minutes later, I come by with something to drink, and I come by with a peanut butter toast and jam, and I give that to my kids because I understand the different parts of the brain, and I know I have to look at how do I get my kids back to green, because when they are in green, they're able to learn and they're able to be at their very best. So we're going to go to what are those 3 parts? So I want to start with what red brain is, what we call red brain. The rest of the world would not call it red brain. They would call it the brain stem. This is kind of when you're in that fight, flight, or freeze, and you're in that lower part of your brain. And, some people say that you're using, approximately about 50% of your IQ when you're in that brain state. So when you're in that brain state, you cannot physically have empathy for somebody else. You cannot see their perspective. So me as a mom, I didn't really care. I was in that yellow, red brain state when I noticed that I was late, because all of a sudden I know that the entire co-op group is looking at me. They're waiting for me because I'm the host. And all of a sudden I think, oh, expectations, oh, image, oh, I'm letting everybody down. So my brain state becomes very unsafe. And that's what this part of your brain state is. You feel unsafe. You feel, and I'm feeling like, what am I going to do? So I start to react. So I'm not responding to my children. I'm not responding to my kids from a green brain state. I'm letting those emotions take over, and I start to react. So I go into that child's room and my brain state, and what do? They start to mirror me, and they start to react. So I have one child that sticks her head under the pillow and she is not moving. So she's in that flight kind of state. And I have another child who's just kind of in that frozen state that, okay, I'm doing this, but I'm just, my brain can't even work. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, as what's happening, these children are not bad children, and I am not a bad mom. But what's happening right now, let's look at it from the brain. What is going on inside my child's brain that's making them react in the way that they are? And so you have the fight, flight, or freeze that happens when a child is in red. And if a child is in green, it takes, they say, somewhere around 15 repetitive times to learn, 12 to 15 repetitive times to learn a new skill. The same child, the same skill, if his brain state, that lower brain, that red brain that we're talking about, it takes them 350 to 400 times to learn that new skill. Wow, that is massive. When I was studying and learning about some of this, I was thinking, as a mom, do I want to teach my kid 12 times their mathematics? Do I want to teach them 12 times put their shoes away? Or do I want to teach them 350 to 400 times? That's because they're working in a brain state and they can't even do critical thinking. That's the wrong part of the brain. That red brain state is the only thing they can learn is about rote memory. And so, because it's the fear brain state. So if you want your child to be thinking critically or to have empathy or to do their task quickly, we need to figure out how do we get them to up into their neocortex, which we call green brain. So let us move to the next one is I want to share about yellow brain. So red, we can understand that, that screaming out of control child, and then we look at the yellow is that medium space. That's when that child feels annoyed. That child feels, he's poking at his brother and he's, fidgeting and he's bored. He's maybe they got some anxiousness. They're a little bit fearful or a little bit sad, or they're hungry or they're thirsty. And sometimes they don't even have words to understand what's going on inside of them, but they know that things aren't quite right. And that's where they have that unmet need, that unsolved problem, or the lacking skill. And that's what we call yellow brain. That's when that child is working out of that middle part of your brain, of their brain, or you are. That's when you're stressed and anxious. So I just want you to be thinking about yellow. Red means stop. Yellow, be careful, because when you are in a yellow brain state, can flip to red. So I started my morning like, okay, let's go. But my brain started to go down to red. And then I started getting rigid. You need to do it now. And my brain state didn't care that this child hadn't had breakfast. My brain state didn't care that you couldn't find your science book. And it started to just react and controlling and be very rigid. That's what happens when you get into yellow and as you flip to red, you become very controlling and rigid, and you don't care about somebody else's perspective, because that brain state of that yellow and red is all about survival, self-preservation. I need to protect me. So I become defensive. I don't have the capacity to listen to the perspective of my child or my spouse. And I'm just in that sense of reaction. So let's move to green. That's your neocortex. That's your thinking part of your brain. This is where you are able to do problem solving and critical thinking, and you're just using 100% of your brain. And this is the capacity then to show empathy to somebody else and to grow and create that environment in your home. And I know that all of us want that green brain home. And so that's when you're in that green brain state. But as I will share, as I teach this in I think they gave me about 30 minutes today, but as I teach a course in this, I can teach this for 40, 50 hours. So today we're just giving this little snippet, just this tiny little brush stroke about what Stoplight Approach is. So I just want you to start to look at it, but being in green is only the beginning. That's when you have the capacity to show empathy, but that needs to be developed, moral identity and social responsibility. And those are skills that need to be growing, but can only be growing when you are in green. So I love the colors. They help me to recognize, because these are universal colors. Even in the middle of Africa, we use the colors red, yellow, green, the stoplight. Even though they don't have stoplights in some of the places I've worked, or never ever seen a stoplight up in the bush, we use flags. And even then they can understand red means stop. Just stop. Stop talking. That your child has no brain capacity to hear what you are saying. And they know that yellow, it means be careful, because I need to look at myself. I need to be able to help the person beside me get back to green, because they're starting to feel unsafe. And yellow means you feel disconnected. That relationship is being fractured, or and you need to look at, how do I reconnect with my child, because they are in yellow right now. And also it's about self-care. What do I do with myself when I'm in red, yellow, or green? And how do I get myself back? And, today we are, many homes, some of our stoplight homes, they even have a red, yellow, green imagery, and they even cut it out or draw it and put it on their wall, so that their child can say, I'm feeling a little bit red right now. I'm feeling a little bit yellow. And being in red is not bad. All emotions are great. They all serve a purpose. They're like little alarms that go off in you that say, hey, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. If you didn't have that alarm that tells you you're hungry, that wouldn't be very good. If there was a lion right there, or as I was in Africa, if there's a snake, let me tell you, I don't care about who's around right now. I could be in the middle of a seminar. I don't care. I don't care about you. I don't care about anything. All I care about is myself. And because I know that I'm in danger and I need to get out of that situation. So we want to teach our child to be aware of when they are in red, when they are in yellow, and when they are in green, and what to do in these brain states. And to recognize, okay, that person is unsafe. That person needs me to come along and create a sense of safety for them. And so when a child can take their little clothespin or whatever and say, I'm struggling right now because I'm in red. And sometimes when I pick up my children from school, I would, when they were in school, and, sometimes they'd say, what was your day like? And sometimes we talk about this at the end of the day, and we say, what color was your day? Or sometimes when I see a kid's a little off, I could say, hey, I see that you're in yellow right now. What's happening? And sometimes my kids will say, I had, one of my kids said, I had a lime green day. I was like, what is lime green? I started the day in green, and then I went to yellow, and then I got back to green. I said, okay, so tell me, what made you go from green to yellow and back to green? And it just was an amazing opportunity that this child says, well, actually, I couldn't find my work and I couldn't find my backpack, but then somebody helped me and I was able to find it. And then I went back to green again. And, sometimes we were able to talk about those red moments. And, sometimes when we talk about all of the different emotions, there's so many of them. And we don't, sometimes we can't even identify, okay, I was jealous during this situation, or I was, I'm feeling anxious about it. And those are hard words for us to even put on something, but we can tell I feel yellow. Or I can see that my brother is feeling yellow. And it's not about putting somebody down, but it's saying, I see that you're yellow. How do I help you get back to green and create that safety? And it's not just about me to my children, but it's about how do we work as a family? Sometimes I've stopped everybody when I hear, and I say, okay, everybody, let's sit at the table. Let's talk. What color is our home right now? And they say, some kid goes yellow, some kid goes red. And you say, what kind of home do we want? And they say, we want a green home. And I what do we need to do? Well, I told her to stop and she wouldn't listen to me. Okay, I get that. So we need to stop and think about, if we want a green home, what do we need to do? And then we said, somebody goes, we need to listen to each other. Okay. And then one of the things that we would do is then go, okay, let's all go back. We have a discussion. We had a snack. We talked about it. We got ourselves back to green. And then I sent them back to do a redo. And let's do it again and see if we can keep our house in green. So these are just a little, tomorrow I'm going to be talking a lot more about tools. What do I do? But today I want you to start to look at yourself, because if you want a green home, it starts with you. As the mom, it starts with you. Because if you're red, your house is going to be red. If you're yellow, your house is going to be yellow, if not red. It's going to be very hard to have a greenhouse if mom's not in green. So you have to look at, what do I need to do? So one of the things I'd like you to think about just now for a couple seconds here is, what does my stoplight look like? Like today. Let's think about today. My day. Oh my goodness. A child was supposed to go on an airplane this morning, and then, long story short, got all the way to the gate and they refused the paperwork that we had. And now, because the States is closed and she goes to school there. So I just went through one thing after another, and I have to think, okay, what was my day like? So part of my day was very yellow. Yeah, there was a little part of my day when I flipped to red. And then I was able to pull it together and create some really green moments today. And so, but then I need to look at, over the last week, what kind of mom am I? Am I mostly a red mom? How big is my traffic light circles? What is it signaling for me to know as I'm red, yellow, or green? And how can I change some of that? And that's how do I build some of my resilience? And that's where we talk a lot about that as we go through different courses and stuff, is looking at yourself and say, okay, I want my home to be green, but what is it really now? And what kind of stoplight do I have? And take a moment to draw that, think about it this week. And draw your circle, and then start to think of, how can you do some self-care? How do you look at ways that you can feel more valued? Because we know that when we're in red, we don't feel safe. Red means you're not safe. Yellow, in order to come out of our brainstem, we need to feel safe. In order to come out of our limbic system, our yellow brain, we need to feel connected. We need to feel valued. And then in order to work in our green brain, then we need to feel safe and valued. And then we can work in our green brain. And then we can do some of the things that we really want to see happen. And we can grow our emotional health in order to get ourselves up to green. And then I just want to share a little bit now, is because we are, I can't share everything today, and our time is coming to a close, and I think there's a chance to answer some questions, but I want to share a little bit about some of the resources that we have. We have some books on our website if you would like to check out our website and see what if you would like to connect with us, connect with our email list. But we have an online course that will be starting this coming Saturday. And it is an ongoing, it's for 7 weeks. And it's you can do the course independently, and you can also join us on Saturdays for a cohort where you can discuss what's going on in your home and be part of some of that discussion and go through it as a group. If you would like, we have this little booklet that is like some of the nuggets that we've showing you some of the pictures of, and it's really easy to read. We will give you a free copy of this. If you're on Zoom, if you could send us your email, and we will be able to send you a a copy of this. And this is what our course is built on. Our online course, you will find, we will go into a lot more detail about how to work through all these different aspects of growing emotional health. We have the A, B, C, D, E, F. We have 7 points to growing emotional health and well-being. And this book kind of gives you a little bit of a clue on that. And then our course goes deeper. So I'd love for you to get one of these. So feel free to send us your send us your email, and we'll send you a copy of this, a PDF. So our website is thestoplightapproach.org. Go on, and there's free videos on there. You can see all of our material, and you can connect with us through that. And I think that there's going to be a chance for questions and answers. I'm just...
Rosemary, you're on mute. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, that was just beautiful, Cherylyn. Thank you for sharing. And yes, we want to open up the floor for any questions or clarifications. I know, I'll just say a little something that I took their course, and since taking it and understanding, it's really helped me start from like understanding where I'm at and being able to be aware of where my young adult kids are at, because they were living at home during COVID. And yeah, and then understanding my husband better. So it really integrates through the whole family. It's a beautiful to learn about the stoplight.
Yeah, sometimes my kids will go, Dad, you got to come. Mom's going to red. and my husband will come and he'll say, hey, why don't you go for a walk? Because I think you're hitting red. Sometimes, we just need that other person. And he says, I'll get the kids to do zone cleanup. And he comes along and he makes me feel safe. He makes me feel valued. He goes, let me take over right now. You go for a walk, get yourself back to green, and then you come back and you can do the last things before the company arrives. I don't know if anybody else gets uptight before the company arrives. But, he's like, nobody's going to work for you when you're in red. Nobody's going to help you out if you're in red. They're all going to disappear to their rooms, like hide, mom's in red. So that's what I love about it is a family thing, and the kids can use it.
I love the fact that it teaches them, like we weren't really taught how to, especially the men in our lives, we're really taught how to identify their emotions or even acknowledge them. And so I have an 18-year-old and having him interact with his dad, like neither of them have a great, ability to communicate with each other, about this kind of stuff. So maybe this will help.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Jump in. I just want to say that you guys, seriously, if you have questions, jump in. This is your opportunity. It's just a closed space. There's only a small group of us here today, which is nice and cozy, but you have the opportunity to ask. One of the things I found super valuable that you were saying was I saw an opportunity at the dinner table for conversation, bringing back those basics of a lot of people would say to me, because in my practice with early childhood as well, the parents would come up and go, it's hard to talk to my children right now. They're always on their video games and whatnot. But when you have these dinner table conversations, wow, it really makes it safe for your children to start sharing with you, no matter where they're at right now, having these green moments. Where were the green moments in your day? Where are the red moments in your day? that's priceless. It gives them an opportunity to just stop for a second and go, yeah, what was it? Maybe there was more green moments in their day than red. And then you guys can celebrate that together. But it opens a conversation, and it also universalizes the whole thing between you and them, right? Like, where was mom red today? You know?
Oh, they can tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah,
No,
but
I
them
think
hearing from us too, right? Like, I grew up in a family, I don't know about you guys, but I grew up in a family where my parents weren't super, they did the best that they could, of course, but they didn't really share that kind of side more vulnerably. I have a different kind of a relationship with my daughter that way. We're more articulate with that. And it's probably because I was in the ECE space, but I don't think it's really taught to us unless we happen to have these beautiful opportunities to meet people like you, Cherylyn, that teach us how to have these conversations. It's such a gift for our children to hear that we're human too. We have red moments. We still have to figure out how to get to green. And when they get to speak into that, like what you're saying, you know, everybody strategizes together at the table. It's like, how powerful would that be to a child to go, wow, mom loved my idea and she's going to use that. And then maybe sharing it later on, like, hey, that really worked for me. Thanks for suggesting it. That would really feel good and help build their confidence, you know? Anyways, I just wanted to edify that. I love that you mentioned that. That was so rich.
Well, I think there's so many things, because even when all said and done, like my crazy out of control day the other when I had kids and they were, you know, like when they're trying to get them onto Zoom, later on you could talk about it and say, okay, you know, that was a pretty crazy time. What can we do next time? How can we make this work better in green? And also, you know, I was able to stop and evaluate what's going on so that I'm not looking at them like, if they're, sometimes when we look at a disobedient child, we feel like they are a bad child. And when, as soon as we think bad in our mind, we have to make them good. We feel like we have to punish them or do something to them to make them good. And so this approach helps you to look at your child and start to see, my child is feeling unsafe right now, or my child is feeling disconnected with me, his brain state. And you look at it, this is not a behavior problem. This is something that's going on in their brain. This is what's happening in their brain, and they need me. If that child was drowning in a pond, you would jump in to save them because they need us. A dysregulated child does not need a dysregulated mom, because two people in red is like this. So everything just goes, you know. So you're both using 50% of your IQ. You know, I just remember one day my son walking into he was lying there, you know, teenage boy taking up the whole couch, and I'd been running around all day, and I got in there and I walked in and I said, "Can you move your feet so I can sit down?" And he goes, "Mom." I'm like, and then he seemed insulted about it, so he jumped up and walked away. My brain state was flipping, because this is like so disrespectful, right? And my husband's just like, I said, I was just about to march out to his bedroom after him. He goes, "Are you in green?" And then I was like, "Oh, no, I'm not." So anything you say is not going to be helpful, because you're going to have two of you at 50% of your IQ. It's just not going anywhere good. So it helps me to make that stop. Okay, am I in green? Am I going to be responding to this child, or am I going to be tearing them apart? And it helps me to realize that this is, when my child does something, this is not about me. Because as soon as I take their problem on me, oh my goodness, then it becomes, I have to go into self-preservation. So I become defensive and I become attacking because I can't stop to hear them. I can't stop to listen to what they have to say, because it's all about me. You know, you are disrespectful to me. No, my child has a problem right now. He's handling life and he's lacking the skills, or he has some sort of unmet need right now. And I need to work with my child. I need to help my child have the skills to handle his frustrations in a much more healthier way. But as soon as I become, it's all about me, then it just flares up into nowhere good. Is that helpful?
Definitely.
Yes.
I think too, I like the way there tends to be in families, I think especially mine where I have all boys, when you talk about like, you know, are you mad or are you angry or use those kinds of words, there's automatically something that goes up, a wall that goes up, or a defense. Whereas if you look at red, yellow, and green, it's objective, and so it gives them separation to be able to be honest with themselves and honest with other people about where they're at, instead of feeling like, you know, are you mad? No, I'm not mad. What do you know, like taking it the other direction, you know, it can go, yeah, it's just when you have teenagers and stuff, and they're all guys, it makes it tricky.
I think the common language of red, yellow, green, it doesn't make you feel like you're attacked. You can just state that this is where my brain state is at. I'm functioning. You know, later on, maybe when we can get to green, we can talk about maybe what some of the points were that put you, what triggered you to red, and how can we help to avoid that next time. But as soon as you can name it, you can start to tame your emotions. Like Dan Siegel talks about that all the time, is name it to tame it. It's connecting that lower part of your brain with the upper part of your brain so that you can start to make that connection to say, okay, I'm in red. And as soon as you can start to say that, you know what you need to do. You think, okay, you know, this is what I need to do. We're going to talk more about what to do tomorrow. So I don't want to go into that, but it gives you that identification, and you don't have to understand, I was just jealous of my brother, or I'm just feeling tired, or I'm thirsty. You don't have to understand why. You could just learn to identify what brain state you are in. And I think that's my challenge for you, is to take some time to recognize what brain state am I in at different points in times each of the day, and why am I in that brain state, and what can I do to help get myself out of that brain state.
All right, well, thank you very much, Cherylyn. I don't see any questions at the moment, so we'll let you go and get ready. Yeah,
Well,
we'll see you tomorrow.
do we